Hello, everybody. This is Rabbi Michael Leo Samuel from Temple Beth Shalom. This coming Sunday evening is going to be Yom HaShoah. We're going to be having a community service at the San Diego Jewish Federation building. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the significance of Yom HaShoah. The Yom HaShoah, of course, deals with the most difficult chapter of modern Jewish history, perhaps of all Jewish history since the destruction of the temple. And as a child of a Holocaust survivor, the holiday is such that there isn't a day that goes by where I don't think about my father and his siblings and what they went through during the war. I wanted to share with you a little bit what it's like to grow up with as a child of a Holocaust survivor. I'm reminded of the passage dealing with the death of Aaron's sons. And you may recall in the book of Leviticus in chapter 9, they offered an offering to God that God did not command. And evidently there was some sort of explosion, but the net result was both of Aaron's sons died. And I always found Aaron's reaction to be of special note. It says in the Hebrew, Vayidom Aharon. And it's usually translated as, and Aaron held his peace. But it could be translated a little differently, because the word Vayidom could be stone-like. And Aaron was stone-like. Or now, to use a modern philosophical expression, you might even say that Aaron was very, very stoic. But was he really? Was he really? And how does this relate to the Holocaust? Well, let me share with you that my father did not speak about the Holocaust to us as children, except on one occasion. I remember when my brother Mark Mark and I, my older brother, we were making model airplanes. And at the time, one of the planes that he made was the German Messerschmitt plane, which had a Nazi insignia. And my father went down to the basement to see what we're up to. And he was very, very upset at my older brother. So what did he do? Well, he was probably about 7, 8 years old at the time. He put him in the bedroom, and he gave him a picture album of what the Jews looked like after the concentration camp was liberated. And of course, he was really quite surprised to see how everyone was like living skeletons for all practical purposes. And my brother never forgot about that incident, nor did I. And but for the most part, my father did not speak about the Holocaust until I was around 14 years old. Not long after the movie Roots came out, which depicted the difficulties that African Americans had when their ancestors came to this country. Shortly after that, there was a movie called The Holocaust. It was a miniseries, a pretty dramatic miniseries. If you could probably still watch it on YouTube, and it's very educational, of course. All of a sudden, my father started talking about the Holocaust, and he went to public schools and he spoke about the Holocaust. Now, my Aunt Miriam, who was my father's sister-in-law, she had been speaking about the Holocaust even in the 1950s. And both of them dedicated much of their lives to educating a new generation of young people. Now, why is this so important? Silence is not an uncommon reaction when people are suffering from PTSD. Sometimes the trauma is so strong that you cannot express it in words. It's beyond words. It takes you to the realm of the absurd, to use an existential expression. Now, if we take a look in the Bible, it's very interesting to compare Aaron to another important biblical figure. And I'm referring, of course, to Job. Now, Job lost 5 or 6 of his own children rather suddenly. And his initial response, well, was a little bit different than Aaron. He said, "The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh, blessed be the name of the Lord forever and ever. Adonai noten, Adonai lakach, Yishem Adonai mevarach me'atav yad olam." But I always wondered, how honest was Job being? Was he really giving a truthful picture of how he felt? And if you take a look at the friends of Job, they do a pretty good job comforting him in the very beginning. But something unusual happened to Job. Job decided that he couldn't just stay quiet. He had to express his pain, his angst, to God directly. And no sooner did he complain to God about why he did these terrible things to his family and why they died, all of a sudden his friends started criticizing him because they wanted him to be quiet and not challenge the orthodox views of that time. And so when we take a look at Aaron and we take a look at Job, we find two opposites. One person is consumed by his pain and suffering, and the other one has to articulate it. And I think what happened with my father was he started off like Aaron, but in the end, he managed to become a little bit more like Job. And this is very important. When we experience trauma and loss in our lives, part of our spiritual and psychological rehabilitation is for us to be able to express the pain that we're carrying. Now, if somebody's going to be a very good friend, what should they do? It's not for them to judge, no matter what the sufferer happens to say. Even if the individual may not particularly sound very religious. He might even sound very, very sacrilegious. But part of the healing requires that one give a name to what trauma a person has experienced. And with that thought, I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom.